Howdy ho, this is Terry. I've lost 180 pounds with keto, carnivore, and counting calories. Now I'm in low carb maintenance mode. Thank you. Hey, we're going to try something today. I don't know if you remember whenever I made my, okay, it's on low. When I made my onion soup or onion gravy, I want to try onion and mushroom gravy. So we're going to cut up, I have 3 onions and 2 mushrooms, and we're going to cut them up and put them into this crock pot. Okay, so we got this on low, I think. Try to see if it's warming up, it's hard to tell. So I'm going to put a liquid in there. So I looked in my freezer last night, and this is some beef, onion, mushroom, pepper broth. So I must have cooked like a roast or something. So I'm going to pour that in here. And it says no dogs. So that means there's some seasonings down in there that I did not want the dogs to have. And especially dogs can't eat onions and mushrooms anyway. This one, again, it says no dogs. This one is chicken and says no dogs. So we are going to pour. Then there's a chunk of ice in the middle. So I'm going to have to microwave this. And give me just a second, because there's lots of goodness down there that I want. Let's see if that chunk come out of there. If it melted enough to come out. Yay! See all those bits of goodness? I know it's chicken, but that's all right. It don't matter what the meat is. It's going to taste good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the lid on this. And we're just going to let this go until everything gets all soft and I'm going to use my immersion blender. I do realize this is going to make a whole lot of gravy. It's going to make too much gravy. But it's the first time and I want to try it. And so, yeah, I got a little wild with it. But that's okay. You know me, go big or go home. So anyway, I'll see you when this is soft enough that we can use the immersion blender on it. Let's take a look at our onion and mushroom stuff. I just want to kind of break it apart a little bit and just get a little stir here. With the crock pot, I won't have to do that very often. Since some of it was still partially frozen, I wanted to go ahead and do that now. And then I'm going to set the timer for 3 hours total. It's been 1 hour. So we'll come back in 2 hours and see how it's doing. It's been 3 hours that our onions and mushrooms have been going. They're definitely soft. I'm going to pull a little bit out. And I want a mushroom because the mushroom is the one that I think will be hard to get it to mush up. I'm going to let it go a little longer. I don't know how long it needs to go. What I'd like to do is taste it. But this ain't the right spoon. You can taste the onions, you can taste the mushrooms. It's going to taste really good. Now I have to look back and see what seasonings I added. It definitely needs salt. There is no salt or anything in it. So, but we'll get there when we get there. So I'm going to let this go about 2 more hours. I peeked back at my onion gravy last time and I had some garlic in it. So I'm going to take these 2 cloves of garlic and drop them in there and let that all cook together. I'm going to watch that video and see if there's anything else that I left out. Oh yeah, when I did it in the oven, I added butter. But since I am doing this with some, I added the drippings from a pork roast. I think there's going to be plenty of fat in there, so I'm not going to add any fat to it. Okay, these onions and mushrooms have been going since, I think it was 7 o'clock this morning. Somewhere around there, and it is almost 2 o'clock. So I'm going to set that there, and you know what I think would be good? I'm going to put a little bit of tomato granules. Just a second. I live in Southeast Missouri. We don't have tomato gravy. I know some people do, but I'm just going to put, I don't know, about a teaspoon of it in there, or tablespoon, I mean. And we'll just set this aside. I double checked my video and I didn't add anything But I do feel like I want to add a little bit of seasonings to it. Like, I want to add some salt. So I'm going to add some garlic salt. Because whatever I put it on, we know I don't season my meat typically. So, and then this is some onion salt. Please know this is a big batch, so I am putting a nice amount on, but it's got to get on all of it. And then I'm going to put on some regular seasoning salt. This is probably going to make enough for an army, but that's all right. And I got carried away with the liquid, and I think that this is probably going to be too thin. But, you know, I always show you the good and the bad and the ugly, so I show you my mistakes as well as my successes. Because I can't, you know, not everything is perfect. I thought that splashed out over the edge. So now, I want to give this a taste. And then I got to figure out how to chop it up. Or how to, you know, I have an immersion blender. But I think that's going to be such a huge mess. But let me see. First we want to taste it. It's going to be hotter than diddly. I know that much. I'd like a, where's a mushroom? Is there a mushroom? There's a piece of mushroom. All right. I'm going to let this sit here a minute. And, well, just... I like that. That's good flavor. I wonder if the immersion blender would make a mess. You know I got to try it out. Let's just try it out. Let's pull this out of here. Let's set this aside. Like I said, I do feel like this is, I put in too much broth. I think it's going to be too thin. So I think it's going to be a watery gravy, which is whatever, you know. But, so I may end up having to, I may add some glucosamine into it. But that's all right. That's all right. First, we got to see if we're going to make a mess or not. Which I'm 99.9% sure we're going to make a mess. But let's find out. Well, you know what? This would be a good onion and mushroom soup. So if you like soup, there you go. Hang on. All right, that did definitely puree it all up, so that's good. But this is way too thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this out into a stock pot, and I'm going to simmer it and get out a lot of the moisture. So give me just a second. There we are. I've got it in my stock pot. It's all pulverized and pureed. Like I said, this would be a great onion and mushroom soup. But it's just a little too thick for how I want my gravy. Now I might put in a little glucosamine in later, but I think for right now I'm just gonna let it kind of simmer a little while. Honestly, it might thicken up if I just let it cool down, but I'm just gonna let it go. But I want to taste it again now that it's all pureed. So. Oh. Yes, yes, yes. Good job, Terry. That's all you got to have. Onions, mushrooms, and some broth. And there you go. And some seasonings. Whatever seasonings you might like on it. That. Oh, man, that would go good on a roast. That would be good on ground beef. That would be good on anything. So now I'm just going to let it simmer for a while. Let me just think. Hey, Ziggy. Stove timer, 20 minutes.
You have 2 timers.
Ziggy.
On this device.
Ziggy. Stove timer, 20 minutes. Ziggy. Stove timer, 20 minutes.
3rd timer, 20 minutes. Starting now. Do you want to name this timer?
Yes.
What do you want to call it?
Stove.
Okay, I'll call it stone. 20 minutes.
I think she said
Starting
stone, whatever. She can't hear me. Anyway, so I'm gonna let this simmer for whatever I just told her, and I'll be back. So it has ended up being about 30, 40, about 50 minutes, and it's thickening up. There's when I stir it, there's some clumpy on the bottom, which is good. I don't know if, it's kind of hard to show you, but when I go back and forth, there's a little bit of a drag to it. It's not like when you go through water, you can go through real fast. Let's see if I can show you what I'm trying to say. See how there's a little bit of sluggishness to it whenever I slide the spoon? It's not like sticking to the spoon like some gravies, but there's just a little bit of a sluggishness. Hang on.
Your gravy timer is
Ziggy, cancel timer. That was the gravy timer telling me to stop. So I feel like I'm going to stop it here. And part of me wants to add a little glucomannan in. So I'm going to do it. Just a second. Not a lot, because I have a tendency to do a lot. Alright. Hang on. Tearing up stuff. Alright, so now I'm just going to add that amount is going to be the only amount. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. And I'm going to get it ready. We are actually going to freeze this in little serving sizes. Kind of like muffin. Hang on, I'll show you. These. We're going to freeze it in these little muffins. And so then that way I can pop them out into Ziploc baggies. And I'll be able to use these in my freezer. So give me a minute and we'll get resituated. Before I take it over, this to me is more of a gravy. See how it's a little more slower whenever I drag the spoon back and forth? It's a little more drag to it. So that's how I wanted a gravy. It's not thick, it's not clumpy, it's just a little bit more of a drag to it. So, alright, now let's move over to the other side. Okay, we're going to try to do this and hopefully not make too much of a mess. Let's see, we'll just start with you. I don't need it to be totally full because I'm going to have to transport it and I don't want it to spill. So I'm going to fill up each of these. What is it? 4, 8, 12. I'm going to fill up all 12 of these and we'll see how much is left over. And I'll be back when I get these 12 done. Okay, I've got these done. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling up these and see where I get to. I'll be right back. So that's how many I got. And I'm going to pop these in the freezer. I'll find a place to set them. And yeah, we will see how it turns out. And you'll see me using these. It tastes really, really good. I can't, it might be tomorrow or the next day before these get done, so let's just end the video here. Thanks for watching, and this is my onion mushroom gravy. Let's go ahead and finish up our gravies. These have been in the freezer overnight. So, like I said, I wanted them to be able to be frozen so that way I can pop them out when I want them. I have to grab another Ziploc, just a second. Alright, let's see about popping these out. Wonder, let me try this. Yeah. The reason why I did them this way in here is then I can put them in a Ziploc bag and store them in the freezer. But then, whenever I want to eat one, I can pull it out and put it in a different type container. And I'm wearing gloves because they're, even though they're frozen, they're still a little shiny. And I just don't want my fingers to be all gummy from gravy. So, I don't know. Yeah, they're probably still going to stick in here, but that's all right. I'll beat them apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have a couple different Ziploc baggies. I'm going to take 3 to Mom's house. I'm going to let her have some. Let her see what she thinks. So there we go. And then I'll put the rest of these in here. And then I'll label this Ziploc bag onion gravy. I feel like that would be a good amount for gravy. You know, whenever it defrosts. So, like I said, whenever I want to use one, I'll pull it out. Let me show you what I'll do. I'll pull out one of these containers because I'll pull one out for this week. I'll pull one out and I'll plop it in here and just let it sit there, and I'll put the lid on it. And then this can defrost in the refrigerator and it'll be ready to use whenever I'm ready to eat it. So you can do that. They also make, which I could have done also, they make these disposable plastic containers. You know, you can, if you want less of an amount, you can buy these and put them in there and put a lid on them. And then I could have frozen them that way. But, you know, this is what I did. So there's many ways that you can do this. So now I'm going to seal them up. And I'm going to put gravy. I'm going to write gravy on these. Just a second. Onion mush gravy. Onion mush gravy. Oh, I wrote that on the wrong side. Onion mush gravy. So now I'll do this one. Onion mush gravy. There we go. So that's how we made our gravy. And this is how we're going to store it in the freezer. So I'm going to pop these in the freezer and you'll see me pull these out from time to time. So that was pretty good and fun and easy. So, all right, I approve of this. Okay, bye.